Hi everyone. I decided to make a little bit of an impromptu video for the first week of October slash the new moon in Libra energy. I was sitting down to start my tarot readings for the week, and I'm realizing there's just too much to talk about. So I want to make a separate video. I'm still going to be working the astrology into the tarot readings like I always do, but I wanted to address these bigger issues that are going on. This is a very important energy that we're in right now. The month of October really is going to sort of define 2022 for us. A lot of us are feeling that we're at this very definitive fork in the road, the sort of crossroad kind of energy. Some of us in work, some of us in relationships, some of us in a little bit of both, or even just more existentially, where are we going in our life and what are we doing and are we on the right path? And so if you've been feeling that stuff, just understand it's a combination of having four very big players retrograde. They're going to finally be coming out of retrograde, thank goodness, between now and January. But just addressing, I want to stay a little more micro. I want to stay a little more interpersonal. I'm not going to be addressing this to connect with any sort of political, societal, any events like that. Just talking about how this might be hitting you on an interpersonal level. So let's just talk about this new phase of the moon. It's occurring at 13 degrees and 25 minutes. And if I give you degrees or minutes, if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, ignore it. Don't worry about it. I explain everything as I go along. I only throw those in because I know a lot of you guys out there are astrologers or readers that watch my channel, or are people who know their chart really well. Anyway, so this new phase of the moon, it's happening on October 6th. It's very tightly conjunct Mars and it's quincunx Uranus. There are a lot of energies to talk about, so please just sort of give me the grace of listening to the intro so that when I get to the individual signs, it's going to make more sense to you in the way of contextualizing the energies. So anyway, we have this very tight conjunct Mars, quincunxing Uranus, right? Mars is that I am, that warrior planet, rules Aries, it's fire. It's, are we on the right path? And it's quincunxing, which means that it's sort of like in a very tense angle where we have to make a decision with Uranus, which is a big game changer energy. So the spiritual meaning of it, and that sounds like, oh my gosh, but that's pushing us to better ourselves. So the spiritual meaning of this new moon, I think it's relating to energy, it's passion, it's initiative, but it's also almost in a way where it could bring up anger, and it could bring up very sort of like internal, like there's almost like internal violence in us where we're going to be fighting for our what's fair, what's not fair, right? And that's sort of going to be the cloak that's laying over everything right now. Well, let's talk about the good news first, because there's a lot of good news that's going on here, believe it or not. So this new moon in Libra, it starts a really, really good cycle to commit to personal goals. If you see my eyes looking down, I'm looking at, I have on my screen the wheel for what's going on. If I do these again and you want me to share the wheel, I'm happy to do it. I know a lot of people don't like that. Anyway, I digress. So committing to personal goals, for sure. We have a lot of interesting degrees that are going on here, but we have this, and anything that's going to be pushing us to express what it is that we want for ourselves in a very, very positive way. And what I like about this is this energy is excellent for negotiating skills, for compromise, for looking at people in our life that we feel like, or situations even in our life, where we feel like up to this point, maybe they haven't really been on our side, or, you know, they've been more like this adversarial type of energy in our life. And where we feel like we're, you know, we're more partnered with them. We're more teammate. We're more, we might not be on the same page, but we're on the same side. You know what I mean? Like that kind of energy. So it can bring about that. We have the chance to make very important Libra-like changes in our life that can involve learning, again, a way of sort of tempering situations so that we can find peace and balance and that kind of situation around us. We're gonna all be pushed to establish this sense of order in our life. We're not gonna want things being all over the place anymore. We're not going to want to feel that energy of holding back. Okay. And you're going to be also recognizing the value of partnership, and that's a partnership in family, partnership in friendship, partnership in intimate, in business, all those kinds of things. This is a great energy to work on the scale of like less drama and more fairness, especially with Venus moving out of Scorpio. because Venus is going to be moving into Sagittarius, and Sagittarius rules truth, it rules negotiation, it rules belief system, it also rules our personal philosophy and what we believe. So, our moral code and our personal philosophy is going to be very important to us, but we're going to be in this beautiful space of being able to negotiate, but only if we manage this very electric fire that's going to be felt. It's almost a raw primal kind of energy that we're going to be naturally feeling internally. So we want to make sure that we keep it in check so that we can actually incite more peace and harmony in our life so that we can achieve our goals, right? But there's going to be this fine balancing act along the way that's going to require some commitment and a lot of effort, in ways that maybe aren't in the moment. It's almost going to be like, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to be really nice to that person, or I don't want to see their side of the situation. But if you do, there's so much benefit on the other side of that, because this particular cycle is going to be a lot of call to balance out very close personal relationships, close connections, how we make money, who we choose to keep ourselves involved with. Negotiations are going to be especially effective right now, for sure. And we're going to be inclined to assert our own needs in ways that don't offend others right now, though, which is really the beauty of this Venusian energy entering into Sagittarius, which I really do like. But the challenge of this new moon with its alignment with Mars is likely going to add some power and energy to situations, which can be great if you're using it wisely. Again, I was going to kind of go back to that, because emotions are definitely going to be intense right now, and it is conjunct this new moon. It's quincunxing Uranus. It's conjunct the constellation Corvus, which pushes revenge, selfishness, aggressiveness, right? It's very internal passion, right? But it can also incite, and I just want to give you a little heads up here, what I call like this patient strategy, and that's so Sag. That's so Sag too. No offense, Sag. I mean, I think it's a kind of one of your superpowers, but where if something's not working out, rather than being very sort of water and very reactive in a way that's probably not going to serve your ultimate good, this is going to be, you're going to kind of be able to comfortably sort of default in this space where you're going to be strategizing, and you're not going to feel the need to be you're going to be feeling the assertiveness and everything internally, but you're going to be also in this space of strategizing a situation in order to have your goals met. It's almost like, I'm not going to say anything now. Let me say something. So a little calculating. But the thing is, and I want to be very clear here, it's not with the intent to be malicious. It's with the intent to figure something out. So it's like a big chess game is going to be going on. And if you're in that space where you're playing this chess game in order to make a situation go in your favor without rustling up too many feathers, you're in a good space. It's where you're not able to maintain that balance of the anger, and you just, that tendency to blurt something out, to end something. I quit. I want out of this. Because trust me, that's going to be like that's not going to work in your favor. So while I think Corvus can push this energy of aggressiveness, of selfishness, of all of that, could definitely do that, it also does incite the ability to patiently strategize, right? Energy has its positive and negatives. So I really want you to focus on that. And with it hanging with that thick star of Algorab, that Algorab's kind of like this very Martian, very Saturnian energy. And the Algorab can bring lies, can bring destruction, very unhealthy level of feeling where we have to protect ourselves. I want to get them before they get me. Now, when Algorab's hanging out by itself, he's fine, but it's with all of these other energies. It's sitting in the middle of this dense love fest of all this other stuff going on. And the thing is, Algorab, when it's not by itself and it's having these challenging aspects, can bring very sort of sharp elbows into a situation. And especially if you feel like somebody is dissing you, or somebody's very much wronging you in a situation, or something is unbelievably unfair, it's very easy for Algorab to be like, oh, I'm going to get them, and I'm going to sit down and figure out, how to make this work in my favor. All right, using the enlightened manifestation of Corvus. patiently strategize, try your very best not to be very, very reactive. Guys, seriously, like these two are no joke together. And I'm not, you know me, I'm not an alarmist or whatever, and I'm not a conspiracy, blah, 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 whatever. And I don't like to look at the negative, but I'm a realist, right? And reality is, yeah, Uranus is going to be a thing, Mars is going to be a thing. But when we have these fixed stars, when we have the asteroids that are involved, right? We have the Justice asteroid, Justitia, and we have Karma, which is another asteroid. Heavy players that are involved in the mix right now. All right, so I'll talk about those in a second, but we have the sun conjunct the moon. Let's talk about the sun for a minute. So we have the sun conjunct the moon, which is really good for giving us a, kind of like an invigorating burst of energy and initiative. But it also brings emotional balance, and not irrational emotional kind of energy where it's not too cold, not too calculating. And why? Because there's this energy of combustion. So the moon is close enough to the sun where that feeling that we might normally feel, that heightened feeling of, oh, I feel very emotionally vulnerable in this, I feel like I'm not safe, I'm not secure, I'm not all that, it's going to be sort of tempered. Right? Because it's very close to the sun. So there's going to be this sort of tempering there. And what I also like though, is we have this Mars is Cazimi, people. And if you don't know what that is like Mars is sitting right in the heart of the sun. And this is super beneficial where it comes to, on the one hand, it's going to be amping up your energy to be like, I am, this is how I feel. This is what I want. I want a fresh path. I want a new perspective. I want to start something new. I want to bring my life in a new direction. So positive in that way. I can't even tell you, like very, very beneficial energy to feel, very focused on moving your life very forward. This energy though, with the moon, it's just, you're going to be questioning old habits, old behaviors. How did I get here? Why did I allow A, B, and C to happen? Not in a way where you beat yourself up, but in a very productive way where it's like, all right, if I keep doing what I did, I'm going to keep getting what I got, as I always say. But I want to look for new ways and to handle this relationship, this job, this situation, right? This is such a good energy for making a fresh start, as all new moons are. So you want to make sure that you set your intentions. And if you guys are not into that and you don't even know what I'm talking about, that's okay. What I want you to do, take a fresh piece of paper, take a blue ink pen, and I want you to write down what you want to manifest in your life for the next 6 months. Keep it concise, 1 or 2 sentences, fold it up, put it somewhere safe, and just forget about it. Keep yourself open and see what happens. It's powerful. I just trust that. I'm not going to make it about that, but definitely do that. Believe me, I'm speaking from experience. It really does work. But you know what? Look, I mean, also listen, with this Martian energy in there, and with these constellations that are involved in this as well, a very high degree of caution is needed before jumping into the unknown during this time. So, you know, like, well, listen, whenever the moon is involved or emotions are involved, it's underneath the surface. You might not have all the information available to you. At the same time, it's like, oh, but I want to feel the need to protect myself. How do I feel about this? It's very like the Two of Swords energy, right? Right, that Moon and Libra energy. It's, you might feel like you're across purposes with yourself in some way, but you know, a decision, a choice, a change, something needs to be decided about how you're going to be moving forward. You have to make it. We're at the crossroads. You can't kick that bucket down the road anymore. Otherwise, something's going to be adjusted for you by spirit, and always better to make our own choices, right? All right, so let's talk about the new moon is going to be conjunct Mars as well. Here, creating this abundant energy, lots of courage. But this is the thing, all right? I can't emphasize enough, using this energy constructively. You're going to feel this build up. It's going to be very hot energy, very rapid, could almost be a little destructive. It could lead to accidents. It could lead to fights. It could lead to all of that. So what do? Try your very best to avoid any situation that you feel like is going to end up bringing that to the fore. So if you can get into anything, especially anything that requires any sort of physicality. So for example, like if you're feeling really stressed out, if you feel like you're going to be arguing with somebody, if you can avoid it, push it off for a couple of weeks, great. If you can't, try to go for a really good run or a workout before having that conversation, or try to very assertively and very aggressively clean out closets, address those emails, clean things out, anything that's sort of expending, right, in real time, this kind of energy is going to end up really helping out, and I just want to give that, this heads up that it's going to be this buildup of energy, but it's going to be interesting. It's almost going to be like a primal kind of raw kind of energy. And those of you who are in weird spaces in your relationship, it's very interesting because on the one hand, it brings up these like primal, like almost sexual urges, but at the same time, this primal kind of like element of protectiveness. And those two like have a hard time squaring, especially if you're in a weird space in your relationship. So don't be surprised if you're feeling that. And if with some self-control and conscious awareness, which I'm all about, right, you're going to be able to transform this very heightened energy into passion, into romance, into positive money-making situations, right? There's a way of managing the positive, and I want you to focus on that. Now, this new moon is also quincunxing this Uranus energy. You're going to be feeling a little anxious, nervous, maybe having a little hard time sleeping, depending on how it's aspecting your personal chart. Generally speaking, most of us are going to just be having a really hard time relaxing and just chilling out and looking at where we're going in our life with a sense of calm, because Uranus is all about the future, right? And because there are going to be a lot of shakeups and a lot of this definitive fork in the road. Oh, am I making the right decision? Am I not making the right decision? I'm just not sure. And the thing is, something is going to be happening that's going to force you to change something. And it's going to come external from you. It's going to come from other. So come from your boss, come from your partner, come from a family member, some sort of external situation that sort of has some element of control or power over you, or that you just matter, you care deeply about, right? That matters to you. But something unexpected, and it's going to make you change your routine, your behavior, your plans, your patterns, the way you approach something. Now you can see this coming and make the adjustment yourself. You're like, okay, I'm gonna handle this differently. I see something challenging coming down the pike. Let me be a little more proactive in this. Or you can wait for the change to be put upon you, right? It's totally up to you. But be flexible. Be cautious, especially about anything that would require you taking risks right now. Be careful of that, because unintended consequences would be extremely difficult to undo. So just be careful of anything like out of the blue, kind of like that. Impulsive actions, Mars quincunxing Uranus, that can bring a lot of impulsivity, tendency to lose your patience, act rashly, and the thing is, it's reactive too. All right, how do I put this? I want you to think about, it's like you're in this space where you very much want peace and you want things to just work out. And when they're not, it's going to heighten that element of what you feel like isn't working, where there's this restlessness, especially if you've been feeling kind of bored or very sort of like stuck at this crossroads. You don't want to be stuck anymore. And it's like feeling this restriction, feeling this limitation, feeling very much this Eight of Swords energy. Self-control is needed to stop that rebellious streak from getting in the way. Definitely, right? I mean, the energy is going to be building up. So you're going to be feeling this restless agitation. So definitely have some sort of constructive outlet. And guys, if it has anything to do with your car, Mercury retrograde, remember, don't try to fix it yourself. Bring it to the mechanic. If it has to do with your technology, Uranus rules technology, don't try to fix it yourself. Don't try to fix anything yourself. So if you're in this very irritated space, because if it's yours, you're going to have a very like emotional connection to it. Bring it to somebody who doesn't have the emotional connection. So don't try to fix your own anything. It's just not a good time to do that. Yeah. Okay, so intro, before I get to the signs, let me just say, like, this new moon, definitely one of the more challenging moon phases that I've seen in a hot minute, I can tell you, and it's because of that Mars, Uranus, the fixed squares, the asteroids, just on a micro level, the potential to create permanent damage in relationships and opportunities coming in is really, really high. If you are too reactive to something, be more responsive, chill out, think about something before. Just because these asteroids that I mentioned before, we have Jasiccia, we have Karma, very karmic undertones, right? The need to feel like, don't be surprised if you're feeling like this energy of, and don't judge yourself if you're feeling like this, where you almost want to feel like revenge or the dark side of things. And it's only because you're going to feel so heightened that you're going to feel that. Stop yourself, take a deep breath, don't react, respond, step back and say, all right, it's the energy. Let me not get sucked into that rabbit hole. Let me be stronger than that. Let me pull back and think about a better way forward. All right. And also worth noting here that I'm seeing here, I forgot to mention. So Pluto is going to be stationing direct about 7 hours after this new moon energy. And, since Pluto is all about transformation, endings and beginnings, it's associated with reincarnation, right? Bringing something back to life. And Saturn is the planet of karma, and it stations direct 4 days after this new moon on October 10th. So retaliation, that feeling to do something, to retaliate on the one hand, but also the feeling of trying to revive something in your life that maybe, damn well needs to stay exactly where it is. Be very, very careful of being sucked back into anything from your past that didn't work before. So try not to have any illusions where you think something may be better than it was before. If you know it hasn't been good up to this point. And this is where I want to go back to the fact that the moon is going to be, it's kind of like this combust energy with the sun, because it's so close to the sun, that this idea of your memory, right? Especially if somebody's coming back from the past or some sort of past situation is being revived, your memory of that disappointment, your memory of how something didn't work out, that disappointment, that disillusionment, that memory can be sort of dampened in this energy. We're like, right, maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe I want to go back and try to revive that. Don't do it yet. I'm not saying, and that's a very broad sweeping statement. It depends on what your personal situation is and what's going on in your chart. But if you know that something was really not good up to a certain point, you have to really look at what are you basing your hope for being any better moving into the future? What facts are you basing it on? Because don't listen to anybody's lip service in this energy. That's the thing. Okay. Anything else I wanted to mention here having to do with this beginning? No, okay, Pluto turns direct, 24 degrees and 19 minutes of Capricorn. So, really popping out of that feeling like we need to make change. We need to bring it into that, it's that, it's this energy of really needing to either end something or address something, right? But what I do like about Pluto going retrograde here is I feel like for all of us, it's in one point of our life or another, we're all going to be feeling this energy where it's like, you know what, that thing didn't work out, but we all did the best we knew how in that moment. Kind of like the judgment energy, right? In tarot. So yeah. And then we have Venus entering Sag on the 7th. So it's going to be from the 7th until November 5th. So it's moving from Scorpio to Sag. Very romantic energy shifts from intense to very buoyant, very let's travel, let's negotiate, let's lighten. The Sagittarius is a lighter energy, it's fire, but it is intense because it's fire, but it's more about negotiating the truth. Let's go on vacation. let's try to work things out, right? That really is a Sagittarius energy. It's considerably less focused though, right? Because it's Sagittarius works with Gemini. And while Scorpio is a lot more concerned with intimacy with the specific person, Sagittarius love is like more universal kind. It's more like, and what does that mean in its personal relationships? Meaning it's looking sort of at the macro picture of your relationship, of that business situation, of, long-term, that long-term kind of energy as well. But it's almost like a more direct and more blunt approach to things. Whatever it is that's money make, because Venus rules money, your ability to make money, feel good about yourself, and love. So you could even be approaching yourself from a far more blunt perspective where it's like, all right, listen, self, where have you been getting in your own way? It's time for us to seriously make these changes. Enough is enough. Stop, trying to pass the buck off to this excuse or that excuse, whatever. Nope. Let's sit down and figure out how it is that we're going to be moving forward, but garner the intricacies and the complexities of Venus and Scorpio, right? Because that is a very complex energy for Venus to hang in. It's more about truth right now, higher meaning. These are all things that take priority with that Sagittarian energy. So why don't we talk about how it's going to be affecting four main things that are going to be affecting each of the signs. So let's start with our Aries friends. So Aries, we have this moon conjunct Mars. This is like a 7-7 kind of situation. So a lot's going on in that seventh house. So when we have the moon emotion, right, it's going to be conjunct Mars. The sun's going to be in there, that Mars is Cazimi. Also, lots of energy is going to be infused into that seventh house, which represents your marriage, your interpersonal relationships, how you show up in interpersonal relationships, your business contracts, how you deal with your clients, your public. It's other. Okay. So there's going to be a lot of energy where there's going to be this heightened emotion to work something out with other. But we also have this moon is quincunxing Uranus, and Uranus is in your second house of the money that you make from the work that you do. So if this has to do with work, there's going to be this tension between some sort of contract that you're looking to sign or something going on with your client or your public or whatever it is. And it's going to be in tension with the money that you make or your work ethic, how you believe things should be, or how you feel about yourself within that arrangement, within that business arrangement, within how you're being accepted by your public, how things are going on, how things are rolling out in that way for you with your, maybe your clients. And if it doesn't have to do with that, and it has more to do with relationship, we're talking about attention. Now we have moon quincunx Uranus, we have Mars quincunx Uranus happening within these houses, right? So there's going to be this very sort of confrontational energy that you're going to be dealing with regarding within a relationship, regarding the money that you make from the work that you do and what's being expected of you within that relationship, your value system, your work ethic. So, are you maybe having some sort of confrontational issues regarding how much you work or how little you work, or how much money you bring in, or how you handle your money, or your approach to your sense of self? Is your partner giving you a hard time because you're not believing in yourself enough? Are you keeping yourself too small? Are you staying too dug into how you think things should be? And you may be dealing with a partner who has more faith in you than you have in yourself, or somebody who is just actually being very confrontational in a way that's maybe putting you down or making you feel not so great. Now, with Venus entering Sag in your ninth house, that's a really good energy for you to be digging into your truth and how you think things should be rolling out. It is going to be sitting opposite that third house energy, which is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is retrograde right now. So don't be surprised if you are, in this beginning of the month, you're feeling like the need to defend yourself. And you can be frustrated with Mercury retrograde, but that doesn't mean that you should not still try to negotiate or not still try to exercise your personal truth within a relationship or within any sort of business situation. Just understand that because of these quincunxes, particularly, and everything else that I addressed, the beginning of the video, it can be there. This can be a period of frustration, but stay within that mindset of negotiating and speaking your truth. Okay. Especially with that Venus in that ninth house in Sagittarius. Sagittarius lives in the ninth house, right? Okay. So that's what I have for you, my Aries friends. Okay. Next we have Taurus. So Taurus, this is a 6-6 combination for you. So the moon conjunct Mars is in your sixth house. And we also have the moon quincunxing, Mars quincunxing both Uranus in your first house. All right, so let's talk about that kind of dynamic. So we have all of this energy happening in your sixth house, Taurus. of your day-to-day work environment, your employees, your employer, where you work. It also has to do with your mental, physical, and emotional health. It also has to do with your pets. So there's a lot of energy that's brewing up having to do with either your day-to-day work environment or some sort of situation that's being realized regarding your health. So there's going to be a strong desire to get in front of some sort of health issue as well, whether it's mental, physical, emotional. Very strong desire to get in front of some sort of work situation where a lot of you may feel like you need more balance, right? You need more, maybe like, balance between your work and what it is that you really want to do in your life. Or you feel like you may feel like something in your day-to-day work experience needs to be addressed in a little bit of a different way. Maybe you need to tweak the way in which you do something. Now, with the moon and Mars quincunxing Uranus in your first house of self, there's this tension between how you feel about how you're actually able to approach life. And what can happen a lot with this Taurus is like you might be working so much that you feel like this tension in you being able to live life the way that you really want to. And being able to manifest what it is that you truly, truly want. Also, the way you're viewing yourself in your work situation may be challenging how you feel about yourself and just your whole perspective on how it is that you want to move forward. Now we have Venus entering into that 8th house energy for you, which is about cycles. It's about endings and beginnings. It's about other. The 8th house is a big house. On the one hand, it's a financial house. It rules your partner's money that you get from inheritance, insurance payouts, any sort of investment. The 8th house rules the stock market as well, for those of you who play in that, anything cyclical. But it also rules relationship, where it rules intimacy. It rules how we blend our resources with other, communication with other, how we blend intimacy with other, basically how we show up as a we in relationship and even in partnership. So with Venus in there, I feel like there's going to be a softening of your ability to incite new cycles in your life, where you're going to be feeling a lot more positive, and you're at least going to be doing things where it's going to feel very like you're living in your truth, which is beautiful because that is Venus in Sag. And even though it's in the house of Scorpio, what that tells me is this is a very sort of transformational period for you, right? Because that 8th house is all about karma and anxiety and where have you been feeling stuck, and you being able to incite these really good, positive new beginnings. But it's starting with you, Taurus. You know what I mean? Like it's you. It's starting with you, with Uranus in your first house, in your sense of self. The changes are happening very internally within you. So I really like that. So that's what we have for you, Taurus. And I'm going to be addressing more, obviously, in my tarot readings. Okay, my Gemini friends. So let's just talk about Gemini having to do with this. Obviously, I'm going to address things in a different, maybe deeper way with the tarot readings. But let's just speak about Gemini really right now here, having to do with this moon conjunct Mars in your 5th house. It's a 5-5 kind of situation. So the moon and Mars are hanging out in that 5th house. I feel like it's not going to be so difficult for you. I feel like you and Sag are kind of having the better experience out of everyone else here, even though you're ruled by Mercury. Mercury is retrograde, and this is a very intense one. I'm just saying from the point of this, this new moon energy, I feel like is not going to be such a big deal for you. So what goes on for the 5th house? I think it's going to be very positive, actually, and that could be a big deal. So the 5th house is falling in love, love affairs, romance. It's your children. It's your creative energy as well, right? So a lot of energy is going to be happening in that 5th house. Now that moon and Mars are going to be quincunxing Uranus, which is happening in your 12th house. That's very internal. So I feel like what's really more than anything, how this is going to be manifesting. First of all, you're probably feeling like such a hard time sleeping. But, when Uranus is in the 12th, it's like, flip. I'm a Gemini sun. So I feel like I have no problem falling asleep, but it's the staying asleep that gets really challenging, right? That's that Uranus energy in there. Anyway, so what I feel like is going to be happening here is in your subconscious, the 12th house is where you're going to be recognizing where you keep yourself small, where you keep yourself hidden, where you're maybe even getting in your own way, where you're limiting yourself. And Uranus in there is going to be like, boom, all of a sudden you're like, how did I not see that I have been doing this? Why have I been so afraid of A, B, and C up to this point? And that's going to be coming to the forefront, especially when it comes to any sort of energy regarding anything creative, anything with your children. Why am I getting in my way having to do with my relationship with my children in this way? Why am I getting in my own way when it comes to this creative project, this romantic situation? So I actually think this is going to be a very positive thing. And then, to kind of round out like the kind of good energy here that we're talking about for you, Gem, Venus entering Sag in your 7th house. Marriage, partnership, business partnership, contracts, your public, your clients. Such a nice energy. Sagittarius is a nice energy for you, right? I mean, you and Sag work together. You're ascendant and descendant from each other. And so I feel like there's going to be this ability to calmly negotiate, navigate, be your honest, beautiful self in relationship in a way where it's going to end up going in your favor, because you're also going to be seeing the truth of of whoever it is that you're dealing with as well. I just feel like it's more of a, even though Mercury's retrograde and, Neptune's still doing, her pain in the ass stuff over there, I still feel like you're going to have there's going to be a crystallization, at least in one area of relationship, that you're going to be like, wow, wait a minute, how did I not see that up to this point? And really make a very easy sort of adjustment that's going to end up being very beneficial for you, whether it has to do with work, right? Because that 7th house is not only relationships, it's not only contracts, it's how you, and it's not only your clients, it's how you handle things in an interpersonal way in your life. So I really like that. So you're going to be living in your truth in a very sort of balanced way. Okay, Gem. See you in the tarot readings. All right, so Cancer. Let's go on to our Cancer friends. So Cancer, for you, we have this Moon and Mars energy, this Moon conjunct Mars energy, rather. It's a 4-4 combination here. You are the 4th house, Cancer. That's your home. Okay, so it's going to be conjunct, the Moon, which is your ruler. It's going to be conjunct Mars, which is that warrior energy. There's a lot of energy going on in that 4th house, having to do with home, having to do with roots, family, mother, your ability to feel grounded, rooted, and safe and secure. And some things, there's going to be a lot of energy in there. Now, that Moon quincunxing, the Moon and Mars are going to be quincunxing Uranus, which is going to be in your 11th house of salary. It's money that you make, your goals and gains, your 5-year, 10-year plan, your friends. So Cancer, I won't be surprised if a lot of you find that you're having weird tensions with your friends when it comes to, a lot of you may be feeling rather disappointed with your friends. You might be feeling rather disappointed with some sort of groups that you hang out with, or where it is that you see your life heading. A lot of you may be taking that energy, and with that Uranus energy, taking that surprise change and making it work for you in a way where it's going to end up inciting more of a strong foundation in your life, where you may turn around and say, oh, you know what? I have that talent and that gift and ability to exercise in a way that's going to end up bringing me a stronger foundation. Or it could be, for some of you, you realizing that what you need to feel very emotionally secure in situations, you're going to be exercising your truth in a particular situation. You just are, because Venus is going to be in Sagittarius in your 6th house of day-to-day work environment. It's your day-to-day. 6th house is your day-to-day. 6th house is also the house of problems. It's the Hermit energy. It's that's where we hang out to solve problems, to think about things from a different perspective. And when Venus is hanging out in Sagittarius, you're going to be thinking about your moral code, your personal philosophies, your belief systems, and you're going to want to negotiate in a very fair way with people that you work with, people that you live with, even all the way down to your doctors, not to make it about that, but that Venus energy in Sagittarius, I really like for your health, Cancer, because that your mental, physical, and emotional health do hang out in that sixth house. And Sagittarius is about truth. It's about revelation. It's about negotiating. So I do like that a lot. I love this for those of you who are struggling with any sort of anxiety. Again, I don't know what else is aspecting your natal chart, but this is generally speaking for the archetype of Cancer. Great energy to deal with any sort of depression, anxiety, disappointment, any sort of physical health issues, seeking help. Great, and Sagittarius is an excellent energy for a mentor, somebody who knows more than you, who's more knowing. And in that sixth house works opposite the 12th house, which is ruled by Neptune, rules disease. So anything like, great energy for you to maybe hook up with a new therapist, go to the doctor, get anything looked at if anything's been challenging you physically. It could have to do with that, but also just in your relationships in general. This is sort of like whether it's friendship, whether it's roommate, whether it's your marriage partner, there's really going to be some very light bulb moments that are going to be going on, and you're going to be very, very strongly pushed to exercise your personal belief system. Okay. I think this is really, really good for you, Cancer. All right. So let's move on to our Leo friends. So we have this moon conjunct Mars, and we have the moon and Mars are also quincunx to Uranus, and we have Venus is going into Sag. So for Leo, so for you, there's a lot of third house energy going on here, right? This moon energy is happening in the third house. Third house has to do with communication. It has to do with siblings. It has to do with extended family, where you live, your neighborhood, not your house. That's more fourth house, but it's like your neighborhood, your neighbors, learning something. It has to do with learning something new. Like, so if you're taking a workshop or you're taking some sort of webinar, seminar, anything like that, or at least thinking about maybe learning something new. Third house is Mercury ruled because it's the home of Gemini, and Mercury is retrograde. So don't be surprised if you feel this lack of clarity, which is not very comfortable for a Leo, right? Because you guys have fire. But we have these quincunxing happening with Uranus happening in your 10th house. And that 10th house has to do with your long-term goals for some of you. For others of you, it's going to have to do with your career. For others of you, it has to do more just with your public reputation and your standing in the world. Could also have issues having to do with your father, or the idea of father, or something connected to father. So when we're talking about this quincunx energy with the third house, so there could be some like very trippy conversation having to do with, maybe if it is a father, having to do with an inheritance situation, some very trippy conversations, uncomfortable conversations happening there. It could also have to do with, again, learning something for some sort of career move that you want to make. Negotiating, also some sort of energy having to do with, like, if you're getting divorced, could also be that. But it could be you being very much in that mental realm of trying to figure out, if I do this, then that, having to do with this career situation. If I do this, then that, having to do with that marriage situation. Because the idea, the institution of marriage is 10th house. It's how you're known, right? If you're known as being married. So if you're in this space where you're like, if I do this, then what about that? Some of you can be in that space. But again, anything having to do with long-term goals, there is this tension between your ability to communicate and your ability to even think very clearly about how things are going to be rolling out. Now, the Venus and Sagittarius energy is going to be happening in your fifth house. So the fifth house has to do with the idea of children. Having children, your children, what's going on in life, your children, has to do with romance, love affairs, falling in love. It also has to do with creativity. So with Venus and Sagittarius, there's this energy of understanding truth, of understanding desire, personal philosophy, what it is that you really want for yourself and what it is that you want for your life. Now, I do see this manifesting for some of you, and this is like, I'm giving you an example of how this can connect, where let's say you're a Leo and you're in a relationship, but you're not sure if you want to stay in the marriage, but you are worried about your children, or you're worried about having children, or, you know, you want children. You're like, oh my gosh, if I leave this situation now, am I still going to be able to have children elsewhere? It could manifest like that. For others of you, it's like, I need to learn something new in my career. I need to approach things from a more creative perspective if I want to be happy in something. Because that fifth house energy is really, it's what we do because we love to do it. And, you know, because it's going to be sextiling that third house for you, you're going to be very motivated to make sure that you're doing something in this. You're not going to be passionate about doing anything regarding your career unless it's speaking to your passion, to your creativity, to what it is that you really, really want to do. Even if you're not very creative. I mean, there are creative elements to every single job, right? It's like you know, bringing your own spin to something. But more importantly, it's like you doing what it is that you really want to do. And for Leo, I feel like a lot of Leos are in this very interesting sort of crossroads, you know. Well, we all are. We're all the fork in the road, right? But really more specifically, like, I feel a lot of you are in this space having to do with like how you show up in relationship and how you show up in career, having to do with how it is that you make money. So those are kind of big areas in life that I feel like Leos are dealing with. So, you know, if you're going to be feeling, you may be feeling this need to get to the bottom of something and to just figure out something once and for all. So you just want to make sure that, you know, watching your conversations though, having to do with anything having to do with career, public reputation, your standing in the world. You know, like, you don't want to go on social media and start blasting somebody out or instigate an argument with your spouse or start an argument with your boss. You want to just kind of wait and again be more responsive than reactive. Okay, if there's some sort of issue that comes up here. Going on to our Virgo friends. Okay, so Virgo, you have this heavy moon energy at all this activity happening in your second house of the work that you do to make the money that you have, your work ethic. How you feel about yourself is also second house, right? Your sense of self-esteem, your valuables, your possessions, what matters to you. That second house, right, really matters to you. So there's a lot of energy there. Now, where Uranus is hanging out in the ninth house, so the moon and Mars are going to be, it's going to be quincunxing that ninth house energy. So with Uranus in that ninth house, there's going to be some sort of shocking surprise that's going to be coming in the way of negotiation, in the way of belief system. So your belief system might be changing out of nowhere regarding the money that you make from the work that you do, your work ethic, or how you make your money. Don't be surprised if you're like, hey, I don't even want to do that anymore. I want to do this. Right? Your whole belief system can change. Others of you, because it has to do with negotiation, where some sort of shocking negotiation or shocking offer can come in that ends up inciting something positive or something challenging. That's the tricky thing with Uranus. Uranus, you never know how it's going to end up rolling out. It could be incredibly positive or incredibly challenging. Ultimately, it's always going to lead you to where you're meant to be. So you have to just trust in that. But, you know, there's no way anybody could ever say, and I always say this, that it's definitely going to be A, B, or C, but the shocking or the new information is going to be coming in from that ninth house energy, which again has to do with the law. It has to do with launching something, advertising, marketing, publishing, religion, belief system, foreign land, foreign travel. So for those of you in, like, let's say you're in a long distance relationship with somebody and there is, you know, they may be expressing something very surprising to you that, you know, maybe doesn't really align with your belief system. You know, it's not really aligning for you. Now, the Venus and Sagittarius energy is going to be happening in your fourth house of home, which also is that metaphorical ability to feel grounded, rooted, and safe and secure. And Sagittarius is all about truth and that moral code and that moral compass. And Venus is about feeling good and things being equitable. So it's very important for you right now that things are very fair and equitable, right? And you're able to live your truth when it comes to whatever is going on in your life that incites your ability to feel grounded, rooted, and safe and secure. Now, for some of you, that could literally be having to do with the purchase of a home, what's going on in your home with somebody that you live with, or just your general energy of being able to feel safe and secure in your life. So it really is an energy of, being in your truth and being very, very aware of what your value system is and feeling that tension between that and where that might be challenged. And see if maybe you may not need to tweak the way you approach something, or maybe you need to ease up the reins on a particular situation. Okay, so that's what I have for you, Virgo, for the beginning of October. Let's go on to our Libra friends. So Libra, for you, it's Libra. It's a 1-1 situation for you, right? We have all of this moon energy just happening, this Mars, everything's cazimi and combust and all this in your first house of self. And look, Libra, I mean, we've been talking about this for a hot minute. All the cardinal signs have been having a trippy energy. Really, this is going to be very profound for all the cardinal energies. And so lots of changes within yourself. So you're going to be feeling this very like energy brimming to the top over how you meet the world, over your sense of self, over what you want for yourself. I am viewing this as being 1000% positive, truly. Now, where is it quincunxing? Where is Uranus hanging out? This moon and Mars energy, your 8th house. Your 8th house is a big house. Scorpio lives there, ruled by Pluto, endings and beginnings. This is not going to be easy for you in this way, but very positive nonetheless. Now let's talk about the 8th house for you guys for a second. So the 8th house has to do with money on the one hand. Okay. So the 8th house has to do with inheritance, insurance payout. If you retirement, money from your retirement, money from the stock market, any investments that you've made, with another person, especially. So if you have a business partner, any sort of investments there, money coming to you from, anything where there was a partner, right? Or from other people. So the 8th house is also your partner's money, but it's money coming to you, or you dealing with money through other means other than your own hard work. Okay. So in that way, it's a financial house, but it's also a relationship house in that it's how you show up as a we in relationship, right? I always say, so that 8th house rules intimacy, commitment, communication, to because that 2nd house and 8th house always work together. So the 2nd house is the money that you make and the 8th house is the money that your partner makes. How well do you guys blend that together? 2nd house is what matters to you. 8th house is what matters to your partner. How well do you guys blend that together? And because we have this energy quincunxing your first house of self, there's going to be a lack of alignment, and you're going to be realizing, wow, this relationship is really not working for me. Or, wow, this relationship is so much better than I thought it was, and I really want to keep it going. But there's definitely going to be this fork in the road where there's going to be this realization, absolute realization. Now, Venus in Sagittarius in your 3rd house of communication is good, because that 3rd house is all about communication. It's got to do with siblings. It's got to do with extended family. So if you're needing to negotiate or work out anything having to do with, anything that requires negotiation, let me just leave it at that, right? Because anything having to do with that is going to end up being good, except remember the 3rd house being Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is retrograde right now. So you might not have all the information available to you. So you may be, and not that Libras need any more of this, but you may be feeling even stronger analysis paralysis in the beginning of October. And if you're feeling like that, let it ride out, Libra. Don't be reactive. Right? You're going to feel, because this is where it's going to be difficult for Libras. You're going to be feeling so much stuff rise to the surface where you're going to feel like, I can't do this anymore. I can't take it anymore. This is like bullshit. Like I can't, But the thing is, it's like, you're not going to be seeing everything completely clearly. You're not going to be understood 100% clearly just yet. Not yet. Wait until like the 3rd into the 4th week of October, better yet, even to the beginning of November. Much better energy for communication. I really like it way better for you, like towards the end of the month. You like how I keep my readings like for the first week of October. I can't help it. Anyway, so but that Venus and Sag, really nice for communication. Just understand you might not have everything available to you for these first couple of weeks, but there's going to definitely be a big tension between what it is that you want for yourself and whatever it is that you're in. And there's going to be tension there. And you really need to figure out really deeply, figure it out for yourself, Libra. Do you want to take this into your future with you? Is this what you want still for yourself in 2022, 2023? Is this how you want to move forward? Okay. So it's an energy that you're really going to have to be thinking about. Okay, now Scorpio, for you, a lot of energy going on internally, right? Internal. I kind of don't feel like this is going to be as harsh for you. I feel like Scorpio, Gemini, and Sag aren't really going to be experiencing this as quite as difficult when it comes to the moon energy, because you're going to be feeling a lot internally. You're going to be feeling, first of all, very probably restless in your sleep, feeling very tired. First of all, Scorpio, a lot of you are very heavy in the emotional realm, very heavy in processing past disappointments, where you've been, what is it all for? You're going to be very aware of where you've been keeping yourself small, this need to push yourself out, make yourself bigger. You're going to be feeling all of that. A lot of that's going to be being felt internally. Now, a lot of you, the tension with the Uranus energy in the seventh house, that's where the tension can happen, because that seventh house is your marriage partner, anyone that you have any sort of contract with in business, anyone that you have a soul contract with, whether that's a good friend or a family member. A seventh house is also other people having to do like with your clients, your clientele, your public, not the grand public, that's more 11th house, but like your personal clients. So there can be this sort of tension. 12th house, subconscious, how you're feeling, having to do with that marriage, that relationship, that how you feel like things are going with your clientele. So the reason why I'm saying, like, I feel like for Scorpios, it's going to be very, very internal, a lot of this energy. Right. And a lot of it, the other side of it, and a lot of part of this processing where you're going to be like, recognizing this disappointment or this disillusionment or this just vulnerability, even having to do with that seventh house, or the seventh house that I mentioned, having to do with relationship, having to do with your clientele, all of that. Venus in Sagittarius is going to be happening in your second house. And that second house is to do with the money that you make from the work that you do, things that you value, and how you feel about you, though. And what is Venus is all about? Is it equitable? Is it not? Sagittarius is all about, is it your truth? So that's going to be like the underlying narrative under all of it, Scorpio, where that's sort of the barometer through which you're going to be evaluating everything, right? Or the lens rather through which you're going to be evaluating things is this in alignment with my value system? Is this in alignment with what makes me feel good? Do I feel like this business partnership is worth the money that I'm being paid? Do I feel like this job is worth the money? Am I being paid what I need to be paid by my clients? Is this marriage bringing me what it is that I want? Am I getting out of this relationship what I feel like I'm putting in? And it's this understanding, and it's not a tit for tat mentality. It's not. It's looking at reality very clearly, as clearly as we can, considering that a lot of things are still retrograde, about how you feel in something. And you're not going to be able to not see it. So there's going to be a lot of this sort of resolution happening, at least within self, that once Mercury comes out of retrograde, I could see a lot of Scorpios, ending those unhealthy relationships, being very, very focused on fixing what's broken in what is an otherwise positive relationship, leaving that job that doesn't speak to you, getting into something different if it's not working for you anymore, anything like that. Okay. So I hope that helped you guys, Scorpio. See you in the tarot readings. Okay. Next up, we have our Sagittarius friends. So Sagittarius, for you, it's 11. It's an 11-11 kind of energy. So 11th house, there's a lot of energy that's going to be popping in that 11th house, salary, goals, and gains. I don't feel like you guys are going to be having a bad go with this. I really, really don't. It's going to be more annoying than negative, if that makes sense. So all of this energy coming up in the 11th house. 11th house is friends. It's your associate. So especially like if you're involved in a project, who's involved in it? It has to do with your goals and gains, your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan. There is going to be so much energy popping in this 11th house. You're going to be able to taste the success that you want for yourself. You're going to be able to taste the life that you really want to bring and manifest for yourself. But where is this tension happening is between that and your 6th house of that day-to-day, what's happening in your work. Who are you working with? Who are you dealing with when it comes to how it is that you're going to get to that level of success, or how it is that you're going to get to that space that you want to get to? You might be arguing with friends at work over how things should be, work associates over how things should be. There could just be some annoying delays when it comes to things going on in work. It could be that for some of you, you're in this space where you're all about moving something forward, forward, forward. And this Uranian quincunx energy in your 6th house could be, but you find out that you might be dealing with some sort of health issue, some sort of health scare right now, where that's going to put a little bit of a kibosh in your ability to move forward in the way that you really wanted to, right? Initially, where it could just incite some delay. And that could create some tension, but it still needs to be dealt with. So some of you may be dealing with that. Others of you, it could just literally be somebody in your workspace. You might be having some sort of challenges going on with your pets, where it's getting in the way of you being able to move your life forward in the way that you would like. So maybe you have a sick pet. I mean, what are you going to do, right? I mean, this is life, right? That 6th house energy, like this is life. This is what happens. I'm giving you all of the different interpretations because this is general and I don't know your personal chart. But keep in mind that 6th house is mental, physical, emotional health. It's our pets. It's our day-to-day work environment. It's our boss. It's our employees. It's our work environment. It's everything that in a very sort of pragmatic daily 3D way impacts where it is that we work and how we make our money, right? And how we experience our day to day. So, a lot of you may be just, if none of those things are resonating with you, some of you just want to bust the hell out of your life. You just do. You're like, I'm ready for a new scene, such a Sagittarius thing. I want to move to Cabo or something like that. I want to move to another country. I want to get out of here. I just want a new home, or I just want something different. And it's almost like this restless kind of energy for a lot of you. Now, Venus is going to be in your 1st house itself. So looking super cute, Sagittarius. People are going to be receiving you very positively. You're going to be very attractive to other people. You'll be very interesting to other people, which is great, right? Because that's, and the way that you view life also is going to be through this very Venusian lens. You're going to be approaching things from this perspective of, are my emotional needs being met? How do I feel about this? How do I feel about myself in this? Really, I really, really like this for you. I think it's going to end up being very positive setting up of pieces for 2022 for you. Very busy energy, by the way, Sagittarius. There is no question. Okay. So next up, we have our Capricorn friends. Hello, my sea goat friends. Okay, so going kind of general here, just talking about the astrology. I'll go deeper when I pull, when I do the tarot readings for that beginning of October. But for you guys, it's in your house, Capricorn. It's a 10-10 thing. This has to do with career, public reputation, your standing in the world. Some of you may be dealing with some sort of issue with father. Saturn rules father. Saturn is your ruler, rules the 10th house. Could have to do with that. So some of you, and because it's quincunxing Uranus in your 5th house, that Uranus, that surprise, that 5th house energy, 5th house, some of you may be, all right, so let's talk about the different ways that this could manifest. So on the one hand, 5th house has to do with creativity, and that 10th house has to do with your career. So you might be feeling very pushed to be more creative in whatever it is that you do. You may be feeling like you want to do something different, because the 5th house is you can have this shocking feeling, like kind of out of nowhere, this epiphany where you're like, I want to do something more in alignment with what I want to do. It doesn't necessarily have to be creative. Fifth house happens to rule creativity, but it's the house of doing what you want to do because you want to do it. So some of you may be pushed, maybe start a new business or do some sort of entrepreneurial thing. It could be something creative. It doesn't really have to be, but it's going to be in tension with this energy where it's like it's not going to be as easy to execute, and you're going to have to physically make some big changes in order to make something happen for yourself in the area of career, but it's going to be worth it if you do that. Now, for others of you, the fifth house represents children. So it could have to do with, maybe getting pregnant or making the decision, because it's quincunxing the 10th house. Maybe some of you are in this space where it's like, I want to be more available to my kids. I want to be more focused on my ability to parent. Maybe I want to change the way that I'm working. Maybe I want to work from home. Maybe I want to, for the sake of my children. That could certainly be something that's going on. Some of you maybe fifth house is also falling in love affairs, romance. So, there could be this thing where you're so involved in work that there's not enough time for relationships in your life, or it's creating tension in your relationship. Anything like that, right? Again, just covering all of those fifth house energies with that Uranus energy in the fifth, and that Moon and Mars and all those other energies being that we've been talking about being in that 10th house energy. Now we have Venus in Sagittarius, right? It's moving from Scorpio into Sag, and that's happening in your 12th house. So Capricorn, like your belief system very deeply internally is going to be making some sort of adjustments. You're going to be a lot more, first of all, creative. You're going to be a lot more focused on how you feel about what it is that you're in. You're going to be more focused on doing a temperature check on how you feel about being in your job, being in your relationship, being in your day-to-day situation, how you feel in general in your life than you have been in a long time. It's because that Sagittarius energy is all about your truth, right? It's your truth. And Venus is like, how you feeling in this, man? How you feel? You feeling like things are equitable? Are your emotional needs being met? Are things balanced and fair? And that 12th house is the house of the hidden. It's your subconscious, but it's also the house of where we keep ourselves small and where we hold ourselves back. And there's going to be these revelations of truth that are going to be happening very intuitively. So please pay attention, Capricorn, that the intuition that you're feeling, listen to it, because this is going to be very powerful for you guys this month. Really, really powerful. And it's going to be your truth. Okay, so we have right now for our Capricorn friends. Let's move on to Aquarius. So Aquarius, this is kind of like a 9-9 situation for you, that 9th house. There's a lot of Sagittarius energy, there's a lot of belief system stuff. There's a lot of maybe religion, belief system, spirituality going on for a certain section of you. For others of you, there's going to be a lot of energy having to do with the negotiating, marketing, focus on launching something, higher education, learning something new, dealing with somebody from a foreign land, focusing on foreign travel, focusing on the right or wrongs of things, right? Because Sagittarius is also like laws, right? And how things should be, right? And that idealized sense of truth. So there's going to be a lot of energy in that house for you. Now the tension is going to be kind of whipping around, it's going to whip around from the 4th house. Uranus is going to be in your 4th house, and it's creating this quincunx to this energy, so which is a tense energy that needs physical, like for you to actually do something in the 3D to make a change, right? And so we're talking about this fork in the road. What is the 4th house? 4th house is home. 4th house rules mother. The 4th house rules an investment property having to do with home, but it could also just be where you live, who you live with, or metaphorically, your ability to feel very grounded, rooted, and safe and secure in something. So Aquarius, I feel like for a lot of you, and because Venus, not to cut myself off, but because Venus is moving into Sagittarius, which lives in the 9th house, which has to do with our belief systems, a lot of you are going to be in the space where it's like, do my friends align with my belief system anymore? Do I feel safe and secure in this friendship, in this business situation? where I'm going in my life. Do I feel like things are fair in this situation that I'm in? That's going to really be hitting the forefront, because there's going to be this tension between your belief system and your ability to feel secure. And that's sort of in any part of your life. So that this can impact your intimate relationships, your family connections, your friendships, what it is that you're doing for money, your roommates, and anything like that. But there is that Uranus in the fourth. There is something that's changing about what it is that you need to feel very grounded, safe, and secure than was the case before. Now, remember, Uranus is retrograde and is not going to be coming out of retrograde until like January. So there's going to be a lot of deep reflections and epiphanies that are going to be going on, having to do with what it is that you need versus what you're getting from other people. Aquarius, you're going to be very, very Seven of Wands energy right now, guys, very entrenched in your personal philosophy, your moral code, and your moral compass. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing. Just be careful that if there is somebody who you're dealing with that is not aligning with your belief system, that you not try to convince them or push them in any sort of dysfunctional way. It's enough to just say your piece and like leave it out there, and that's it, right? Don't try to push your agenda on anybody else, right? Just because with all of this crazy energy, the tendency is there for sure. So just be careful of that. Finally, my Pisces friends, our little fishies. Okay, so for you, Pisces, this might be a little trippy for you. This is interesting energy. It's like eighth house energy. It's like this. Eighth house is all about cycles. It's about endings and beginnings. It's about transformation. It has to do with investments. It has to do with the stock market. It has to do with insurance payouts. Anything cyclical. Your partner's money could have to do with your partner's money. So there's a lot of focus and a lot of energy on the cycles in your life, having to do with intimacy, having to do with commitment, having to do with communication. It's all eighth house stuff. It's a very dual kind of house, right? It's a money house, but it's a very heavy relationship house. With all of this energy that's going to be focused there, there's going to be you're going to be feeling a lot when it comes to anything cyclical in your life. Now, again, it could have to do with any of those things, from relationship, intimate, business, anyone that you have any sort of shared vested interest with. So it could even be, again, like inheritance, insurance payout, anything like that. So where is the quincunx happening, though, to that? All of that heavy energy is in your third house, which is the house of communication. It's the house of learning things from like a ground level. It has to do with your siblings, your extended family, your neighborhood, your neighbors, anything like that. Remember, Mercury's retrograde, and Mercury does rule the third house because it's the house of Gemini. So don't be surprised if you're experiencing this lack of clarity. And Neptune, which is your ruler, is in your sign right now. So just know that, but Neptune is going to be going direct. I'm going to talk about that probably in the next video. But don't be surprised if you're feeling very, very confused and having what may feel like almost an existential crisis when it comes to you and other people. Addressing anything that could be potentially cyclical. So whether it's investment, whether it's relationship, anything like that. If you're feeling like stuck and like you have this metaphorical harness on you, don't sweat it. It's not going to last. It's not, I promise. It's really, really not. Now, where I think something really good is going to be happening is Venus is entering Sagittarius in your 10th house of career, public reputation, your standing in the world, your long-term goals. So I think something really like there's going to be this, we're all going to be feeling with Venus in Sagittarius, but you're going to be feeling it a lot like in your long-term goals. There's going to be a different kind of clarity that Pisces are going to be recognizing, which I really love for you guys. You're going to have very definitive clarity on what feels right and what feels wrong for you, your moral code, your moral compass, and all of that. Awesome energy, by the way, guys, for those of you who are looking to launch anything, advertising, marketing, publishing, negotiating. Love it with Venus and Sagittarius. Sagittarius rules those energies. So if and since it's connected to the 10th house, really positive energy having to do with anything like that. Love it. I mean, this is like in any area of your life where you need to have this element of negotiation, that's going to be bringing you a little reprieve, because that 8th house energy, that's going to be kind of heavy. You're going to be looking at past cycles of your life and how did I get here? And that was not with in alignment with my belief system, but a lot of you are also going to be in the space where, because of other energies that are going on, where you're going to be looking at yourself very differently, and you're going to be realizing, these epiphanies about where you've gotten in your own way and where you've lots of very deep changes going on for Pisces. But I mean, we've been talking about this, but it's so good. Like all of these things are very, very good. So anyway, my friends, that is what I have for all 12 signs. That is what I have. I don't even know how long this video is. It seems like forever. I'm putting timestamps in there. And I'm going to go do the tarot now. All right, you guys take care. Bye-bye.